Let me introduce myself. My name is Bob Piganelli, and I'm president of the Tri-State Board of Governors. And for me, it's always a pleasure to come back to Tri-State and just to relate back to my past at Tri-State University. I graduated in 1974 in Arts and Science, and then went on to be an admissions counselor with Tri-State, and then went on to be director of housing. So there are several faces out there for me that I'm just real happy to see, and just love to go back and listen to a lot of the stories that happen not only academically, but also on the social side of the university. So maybe throughout the breakfast this morning, we'll all have an opportunity to maybe relate some of those stories to people at the table and just get to know each other, again, like we did maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 some years ago, okay? Or 40 or 50, as Sharon said, and possibly 60 or 70. So it's really a pleasure for me to be up here and to welcome you all to the breakfast this morning. Right now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. John Reynolds. We feel real fortunate at Tri-State University to have him and feel he's a real asset to the university. Dr. Reynolds?
Thank you, Bob. A year ago this month I came here to interview, and it doesn't seem that long, but at the time when I came here I knew, after meeting with some of the trustees, and most of the trustees here are also alumni, I knew this would be a good spot to land, because I don't think I've ever seen the commitment or dedication on the part of a board of trustees or an alumni group like I have here. And I've been at a lot of schools. I've been president of 2 other schools, and I can tell you that there's a lot more dedication, I think, here than most schools across the country. But I'd like to just welcome you on behalf of the faculty and staff and bring you greetings from them. And Glenn said, and Glenn Radcliffe I'm sitting with, I always have to sit here with Glenn. And he said, just don't talk too long because these people want to eat. So again, I want to welcome you, and Bob, do you want to introduce Dr. Getty? Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to introduce Dr. Bill Getty, who has had a long association with the university. Dr. Getty?
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, all. Alumni, friends of the university, honored guests. I'm sure we have some. It was 110 years ago in July that a fellow by the name of H.D. Wood, a fellow by the name of Carver and Gates, decided to sell bonds in a normal school. And so 110 years ago in October, they were very successful. 110 years ago in October, if you listen real carefully, you can hear the hammers over there on College Hill. Because in this time, 110 years ago in October, the building was started. And of course, in the spring of the year, the first students came. And during that time, if we think on it as the time that the circle of Tri-State started, and if you recall, some of us as students and some of us as graduates received a small card that said x squared plus y squared equals r squared, which was the circle that was supposed to continually bring you back to Tri-State, and I'm certainly glad to see that you people have come the full circle. Obviously, what you contribute to the university in the way of your success and sending some of it home, and then coming home to Tri-State, of course, is what makes Tri-State what it is to all of us who love it. And so I'd like to think of that formula with the graduates that are coming and the graduates that have been, are making the radius of that circle infinity so that our school lasts forever. And so with alums like you supporting us, I'm sure that radius will continue to increase. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Bill. Before I bring Dr. Radcliffe up to give the invocation, before we start the buffet, what Sharon Martin's going to do is she's going to go and lead the tables as to who will start the buffet breakfast. So after Dr. Radcliffe gives the invocation, Sharon will then indicate to which table will start the breakfast. Dr. Radcliffe?
Shall we be reverent in the spirit of prayer? Almighty and eternal God, we come into your presence this day, mindful of those that had the vision more than 100 years ago to establish a place here of higher training, higher education. We're thankful for all of those since that time that have kept this place going. And we pray that the present administration and future administration may be endowed with wisdom and knowledge from on high in order that this great university can continue to make a wonderful contribution, not only locally but throughout the entire world. We're grateful and thankful for that. We will not forget to thank you for the food that's been prepared for us. We would pray that that would strengthen us to the extent that we can make a greater contribution to our fellow man. And we thank you for it in his holy name. Amen.
Thank you. The next part of our program is an annual event, and what it is the awards for presentation of the Tri-State University Distinguished Service Awards. And this has been going on since 1954. And we award approximately around three a year. So as you can imagine, there's been over 100 recipients of this award. And at this time, I'd like to call out Gary Ray, who will be presenting the awards for this year. Gary? May I make this for small people? By the way, I am standing up here too. Thank you, Bob. As Bob mentioned, each year the Tri-State Alumni Association, through the Alumni Board of Governors, selects typically 3 or 4 distinguished alumni to receive this award. And it's my pleasure today to award that to 3 very distinguished alumni. I might mention that this year we had probably one of the largest group of nominees. We had 10 alumni nominated for consideration in receiving this Distinguished Service Award this year. That's one of the largest number I believe we've had, at least in a long time. What I'd like to do is, I'll read the name of the person, and I'd like to have them come up, and I will share with you their background. Certainly much of it is already written in here, but I want to make sure that you see the person and hear much about their background, and then I'll present the award. Our first one this morning is Mr. Lehman I. Foreman. Lee, would you come up? Mr. Lehman Foreman graduated from Tri-State University in 1948 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. He continued his education by attending the School of Consumer Finance at Marquette University, the Graduate School of Banking at the University of Wisconsin, and the Management Program at the University of Colorado. He is a retired president, chief executive officer, and chairman of the board of the Bank of Menasha in Menasha, Wisconsin. He was the founder or co-founder and director of many businesses, including Tupco Industries, Polywide Incorporated, Silver Lake Development, and TLC Development. In addition, he has maintained professional affiliations in various banking organizations. Community involvement has been a large part of Mr. Foreman's life. He has served on the Board of Trustees of the First Congregational Church, chairman of the Building Fund for the Methodist Church, Radio Free Europe Drive chairman, member of the Rotary Club, member of the Elk Club, and Nina Menasha Leukemia Society Drive chairman. Mr. Foreman has been and continues to be active in the Tri-State community. He currently serves as a member of the Board of Trustees, is co-chairman of the Finance Committee of the Board of Trustees, and is a former member of the Alumni Board of Governors. He also served as state coordinator of the General Hershey Hall Building Fund. Mr. Foreman is married to the former Lou Zuber, and they are the parents of 4 children. Tri-State and the banking industry have benefited from Mr. Foreman's active participation, and we congratulate him on his accomplishments. the plaque, and I might mention that this year we did change the plaque. And for those of you who received DSAs in years past, you can just drool over this. But the plaque states Distinguished Service Award 1993, Lehman I. Foreman Business Administration 1948, whose outstanding service to his alma mater and community and professional success reflects favorably upon Tri-State University. Congratulations. Did you see that? Check that. 2 words. Let's count them.
First of all, I'm not sure that Tri-State can afford to give such a beautiful plaque to this kind of recipient. Good. I've been coming to these events for about 25 years, and I've seen the recipients, and I'll tell you, I've kind of had a feeling in my stomach, if I work hard enough, maybe someday I might be recommended. I'm not sure if giving Ralph Martin's sister a job as an accountant in my bank was part of the reason for his nominating. But Ralph, I certainly appreciate it. I have got to make a confession. 46 years ago, I did not attend baccalaureate. And I told Dr. Radcliffe, he wasn't a doctor then, I had another name for him, that I was working. And he said, the rules are rules, and I'm going to hold up your degree for 6 months, which he did. I wasn't working that evening, I was working that afternoon, and I proposed to my wife, Lou Zuger, and she accepted it, and we celebrated our 46th wedding anniversary.
You didn't tell me that at that time.
Well, I didn't know it. But the 2 best things I think that I've gotten out of Anglo and Tri-State is, number 1, the degree, and the desire to attempt to make yourself a little bit better than the guys who went to Purdue in those tight pants schools. And second is my wife. And we've had 46 years. I asked her how many wonderful years, and she said, maybe 3 or 4. But there's been more than that, really. And I certainly accept this. It's a wonderful school, and I hope to be around for a few more. Thank you again.
Thank you, Lee. Our next recipient is Mr. Herbert T. Pratt. Herb, could you come on? Mr. Pratt graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering in 1945. Upon graduation, Mr. Pratt worked 1 year for King Sealy Corporation in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He then worked for Fieldcrest Mills in Eden, North Carolina. He joined the Textile Fibers Department of the E.I. DuPont Company in 1952, where he has a long career in textile research, technical marketing, and quality management. His technical contributions in textile chemistry were developing dyes and finishing techniques for polyester yarns and fabrics. He was noted for his pioneering work in the use of textile fibers as legal evidence and had input in such famous cases as the Ted Bundy case in Florida, the Hillside Strangler case in California, and the Wayne Williams case in Georgia. He has been consistently recognized throughout his career for his outstanding achievements within his profession. The list of recognitions and awards is quite extensive. He also has many professional affiliations, including the American Chemical Society, American Association of Textile Chemists and Colorists, the American Society for Testing Materials, the Torch Club International, the American Institute of Chemists, and is a member of the board of directors of the Chemical Heritage Foundation. He has written over 175 published articles on many topics within and outside his profession. Having a passion for history, many of his articles have documented history within his profession as well as many local and area attractions. Mr. Pratt is an active member of his community, serving as a member of 8 different organizations, many of which relate to his interest in history.
member of the Mount Pleasant Church of Christ, where he is chairman of the Board of Trustees and has been a Bible school teacher for many years. Tri-State University has benefited from Mr. Pratt's interest in history. He prepared a list of Tri-State graduates in the American Chemical Society report on chemical education and is currently writing a history of the Department of Chemical Engineering, 1911 through 1991. Mr. Pratt is married to the former Mary Stubbs, and they are the parents of 4 children. We congratulate Mr. Pratt on his outstanding achievements, personally and professionally, and appreciate the significant contributions he has made to perpetuate the history of his alma mater. And on his plaque, again, Distinguished Service Award 1993, Herbert T. Pratt, chemical engineer 1945, whose distinguished professional achievements and humanitarian service to his field and alma mater reflect favorably upon Tri-State University. Congratulations.
When I arrived at Tri-State 50 years ago last month, half century, that seems like a long time, I would have never have dreamed at the moment that one day the school would name me as a distinguished alumnus. I am indeed very honored by this recognition. For whatever I have accomplished in life, I owe much to my teachers here, Jerry Moore, who taught chemical engineering in particular. I also owe much to my parents, who engendered within me a great love for learning, and to my wife, Mary, who as a fellow professional has been a great help. She has done a sounding board and has listened to my ideas and corrected me when she thought I was wrong. Soon after arriving in Angola, I met 2 local young ladies, Mary and Loretta Sanders, who were just older, much than I was, just enough to give me good advice and keep me on the straight and narrow. We've been good friends ever since, through letters and telephone calls, and I'm very honored that they are here this morning to share this moment with me. Again, I'm honored by this award. I will cherish it always. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last DSA today is presented to David E. Wilman. David. Mr. Wilman graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business in 1977. Upon graduation, Mr. Wilman joined the accounting firm of Ernst & Ernst, now Ernst & Young, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He continues to be employed by Ernst & Young as a partner and now works in their Indianapolis office. His professional affiliations include membership with the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the Indiana CPA Society, the Institute of Internal Auditors, Leadership Fort Wayne, and the Life Office Management Association. Mr. Wilman is equally committed to helping many make his community a better place. Before moving to Indianapolis, Mr. Wilman served as chairman of Easter Seals, secretary-treasurer, and member of the board of directors of Calvary Temple Church, treasurer and chairman of the board of directors of the Embassy Theater Foundation, and chairman and member of the board of directors of Science Central Incorporated. He has served as past chairman and member of the board of Anthony Wayne Services and past chairman and member of the board of Life Management Institute. Tri-State University has benefited from the leadership Mr. Wilman has given by his participation as a member of the Alumni Board of Governors, organizer of Tri-State alumni gatherings in Fort Wayne, in the Fort Wayne area, and speaker for various TSU classes. Mr. Wilman is married to the former Jill Simon, and they are the parents of 2 children. We honor David Wilman for his contributions to his profession, his alma mater, and his community. David's plaque states, Distinguished Service Award 1993, David E. Wilman, Bachelor of Business Administration, 1977, whose professional success and outstanding service to his community and alma mater reflect favorably upon Tri-State University. Congratulations to him.
Gary, is it okay if I say 2 words? Thank you. That was just to demonstrate that in the 70s we did teach the accountants how to count. So, unlike maybe in some of the other years. Being a part of the Alumni Board of Governors in the past, I will say that it is really an honor to be sharing this podium with such distinguished people, and I'm humbled by it, and I thank you for the honor very much. I obviously don't remember 101 years ago, Mr. Getty, when the hammer was hammering out back, but I too have fond memories of Tri-State University. We at our firm continue to hire Tri-State graduates, and the one thing that I think is important, whether it be in business or engineering, that Tri-State has a reputation out in the corporate community is it lays a solid foundation for the skills necessary to be successful in the corporate area and to be successful in things go by. So my challenge to the university is continue to do that. The corporate area changes, business changes, but as long as we continue to present our young men and women with good foundations coming out of school, Tri-State will continue to be successful. So on behalf of my family that couldn't join me, we had a soccer game, ballet classes, gymnastics classes, and my wife is expecting our 3rd child, so they couldn't join me today, but on behalf of my family, I thank you very much.
Thank you, David. That concludes the presentations for this year. As chairperson of the Distinguished Service Award Committee of the Alumni Board of Governors, I would encourage each of you alumni to submit names during the year for consideration next year, because we will again issue or present some DSAs next year. So I encourage you to submit the names back to the alumni office of anyone you feel is deserving of this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And again, congratulations to the award. Next on our program is the annual Tri-State University Alumni Association annual meeting. And to help me out with this program, I'm going to bring up Sharon Martin, who's Alumni Director. Sharon?
According to Article 5, Section 2 of the Constitution bylaws of the Board of Governors, at this annual meeting, it is the responsibility of the secretary, or if the secretary is not here, myself, to present to you the names of the individuals who are going to be the officers of the Alumni Board of Governors for the 1993-1994 year. And at this time, I would like to introduce Bob Piganelli, who will be serving another year as president of the Alumni Board of Governors, whom you've heard earlier today. The vice president is Craig McKibben. He is unable to be here today. Craig is currently our vice president of the Board of Governors. And for secretary, Gary Ward, who is coaching a soccer team today and will be here later this weekend, but he was unable to be here. So these are the 3 people who are the executive committee of the Alumni Board of Governors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. At this time, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce the Board of Governors that are here. If they would please stand up, all the Alumni Board of Governors that are attending the breakfast this morning. Past and present Board of Governors. Let me just say, on behalf of myself, it's a pleasure working with these people. All these people are dedicated alumni. They're all volunteers who put in their heart and soul into improving the alumni organization. And believe me, over the last 2 years have really contributed a lot of their personal time in order for us to make great gains. So I think at this time it's appropriate that we give them a big hand for the work that they've done and the programs that they've developed. And I personally would like to say thank you to all of you. We have a great team going and look forward to continuing that on through the year. So thank you very much. And the second part of this program is to introduce the alumni representatives of the Board of Trustees. If they would personally stand right now, if any of them are here. Is Jim Cooper here? He's out of here. Mel Long, Mel here. Thank you, Mel. Hubert Miller, Hubert here. Again, on behalf of the Alumni Board of Governors, we thank you. You're our representative on the Board of Trustees and always bring back a lot of valuable information. So again, thanks a lot. At this point in the program, if Dick Oder will come up, and Dick's going to recognize the classes.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's certainly a pleasure to be here this morning. And this is a special time when we recognize at the breakfast our anniversary classes. Now, doing a little calculating here with the number of anniversary classes that we need to pay special attention to this morning, if we allocate 5 minutes for each class, we're definitely in trouble because we'll never meet the agenda today. I don't know why they gave me this part of the program because I enjoy talking anyway, but one of the things they said, please make sure we keep the program going because it's very important that we are out of here on time. However, looking at this audience today, looking at the number of alums that was at the Oktoberfest last night, at the Taylor Hall, that was at the basketball game, it's certainly special to see these individuals, some of them that has returned for the first time in many years. So at this time, it gives me great pleasure to call on those individuals that is going to be the chairperson for these individual classes. And it's a real privilege to call on Arthur Hedema, the class of 1933, to be the spokesperson for that class. Art, if you will, please.
I'm glad the microphone is close to my table so I could walk over here. It's nice to be back to the 93 reunion after 60 years have passed. I remember when across the railroad track there was a sawmill over here. That's all. There's no buildings here. We didn't have Hershey Building, we didn't have Stewart Building, we didn't have the golf course. This was nothing but a swamp over here. That was a football field and tennis courts and all that. 2 years at Tri-State gave you an engineering degree, and you went 50 weeks. You got 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks off, and you studied 50 weeks. And I mean study because the catalog said you take all major subjects and no non-essentials. The non-essentials was 2 years of, or 2 terms of English, so you could write a letter to get a job. But there's no use writing a letter because when I graduated in 1933, there were no jobs. I mean that. They talk about this depression today. That's nothing. This is a recession. Depression, fellows left here, graduate engineers, got at the filling station, $15 a week. And then I got thinking of myself. 15 years after I graduated before I had a job. I didn't believe that. 15 after the war, I mean I got a permanent job. Then I worked 29 years because I thought I'm going to keep this job once I got it. So I was going to say, we were in the 20s. We were older fellows. And I guess we were pretty good students, the way I understand it, because we came here to study. And then I also, in being here, I'm back here again, and I'm living right near here in Angola, by the way. They remodeled 2 buildings here in the last few years, an excellent job to remodeling. And then they have plans to do some more building on the campus. They have architects that are working now, deciding what to build. Maybe on our administration building, they might put that story back on there again. You know, that burned off, which would be a nice thing to do, I think. So I'm glad to be back, and
glad to be able to walk up and get to this microphone.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate those comments. When you return in another 10 years, we'll have that remote microphone for you to make it very convenient. Let's have the class of 1933 stand up. Let's recognize them at this time. We have several there in the audience. Give them a nice hand. Isn't that wonderful? 50 years. That is really special. Thank you very much. Next, we would like to recognize the class of 1943, and the spokesperson for that class is Ray Collier. Ray?
Thank you very much. As I look at this group from 1933, if that's what we've got in the future, I'm all for it. Sharon Martin called me a few months back and asked if I was going to be here, and I said I was, and she outlined some of the things that they wanted me to do, and one was to be here at breakfast, and she said you may be called on to say a few words. So on the way up here, I thought, well, now, what will I say? And I thought, well, I could tell the story about the tri-state student who got a job out in the Midwest city, and he took this job and they moved into the area and moved into a new home, or a used home they had before it could be totally renovated. It needed papering and painting and so forth. So he got pretty busy and didn't have the opportunity to help on it, and his wife finally decided that she would take things in her own hands. So one day she called a painter and had him come in, and he painted the kitchen and the walls entering from the garage. And that night it so happened that his boss had one of their biggest clients and asked him to go to dinner with them, which they did. And they signed a large contract, which is a great feather in the cap of this new tri-state employee. So they had quite a few drinks, and on the way home, when he got home, he was having a little trouble with stability, and he put his hand in the paint. So next morning, his wife saw that, and she said, well, I'll call the painter. So she did, and had him stop around, and pretty soon there was a knock on the door, and she opened the door, and she says, oh, come in, I'd like to show you where my husband put his hand last night. And he said, oh, lady, I'm too old for that, but I'll split a beer. And then there's the one about the professor from Tri-State. He was asked to give a talk on sex. And he didn't want his wife to know this because she was leaving town for a seminar. So he told her that he was going to talk on sailing. And she thought, well, he really doesn't know much about sailing, but so be it. So she left town, and he gave his talk on sex. And when she came back, she met one of her friends in the store during that week when she was shopping. And this lady said, oh, I want to tell you, I went to your husband's talk, and he was wonderful. He certainly seemed to know what he was talking about. And his wife said, well, you know, that's very strange, because he only did it twice, and the first time he got seasick, and the second time he fell off. On a more serious note, I think probably there are a few other people here, like myself, that you do not look back at some of the reasons you are where you are today. There are times of decision. And in 1940, after 4 years out of high school, I had a decision to make. I was employed at that time in the civil service of New York State. I could stay there. Eastman Kodak had their apprenticeship program, which was very good and popular in those days. They don't have an apprentice program anymore, in many places in the country anyhow. And the other was Tri-State. A few months before that, I had received information on Tri-State, and I selected Tri-State. Graduated, went to General Motors, left there, and went in for a smaller company. Ended up finally owning that and retiring in 1980. And on the way up here, I got thinking about that, and I thought, what does Tri-State really mean to me? Well, and I'm sure everyone sitting here, if you haven't thought about it, in no small small part, what you are today is the responsibility and a great part by Tri-State. And I think that's very important. I'm extremely proud of Tri-State University. Another thing that I thought about was in the 50 years since we graduated from here, there were so many improvements. There was no TV at that time. You know, you can stand here or at home and look at that beautiful, clear picture of something happening any place in the world at that moment, and you are part of it. And I think that's great. And then the technology changes in automobiles or transportation, let's say. And then on top of that, look at what has happened in electronics. Now, you got to remember, these are starting points. Now, we can't even comprehend on what's going to be happening in the next 30 or 40 or 50 years. The people will look back then and say, boy, were those people backward, and I'm sure they will. And I think that in all of this, the Tri-State will be a big part in the future. They will certainly be in a position to let their students out of here with training that will meet the challenges of the future. And I know those of you who here have not been back here for quite a number of years, and I do know in talking that some haven't been back, you must be amazed at the changes. They're just fantastic. It was somewhat of a little backwards community and a little backward college back in 1943, and then especially back in 1933. But I know I am, and I know that you are all very proud of Tri-State. And the last thing, you know, we've got a new president, John Reynolds, and I'm sure all of you read in the Today that you get from the Alumni Association on his accomplishments. There's only one little problem with that. I was talking to Carol yesterday and talking to her and saying how great I thought he was, and she went on saying things, and she said, you know, he's very proud to be president of Tri-State University. But she said, I'm a little concerned because I think it might be going to his head. And she said, as an example, the other day we had one of our coldest days of the year, and we had to leave the house early in the morning, and unfortunately we forgot to turn on the heat. So when we got back that night, which was late, it was almost as cold inside as it was outside. So she said she hurried and went to bed. John was in brushing his teeth and standing on the cold tile floor in the bathroom, and when he jumped in bed, he put his feet on her, and she said, oh, God. And he turned to her and he said, Carol, when we're in bed like this together, you can just call me John. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you very much, Ray. That is our 50-year class. The red sport coat certainly stands out. And how many 50-year members do we have out here this morning? Let's recognize them. Stand up, please. For all those folks in the back and see it. Good job. We had a nice turnout. That was really special, and we really appreciate the fact that all of you returned for this special event. That's really great, and I won't touch any of these jokes. I'll leave those well enough alone. Okay. Next, it is certainly my pleasure to introduce the spokesperson for the class of 53, and that would be John Alexander. John, are you available this morning? I see him out here in the audience. Okay, please.
Thanks. I'm not going to touch any of those jokes either. I'm going to stand just the way they are. I guess I'm really honored to be up here as both the spokesman for the class of 1953. In 1953, I didn't think I was going to be the spokesman for anything. After I left Tri-State College, there was about 10 of us that went down and went to work for a little company in Fort Wayne called General Electric. And of those 10, we're all, none of us are working for General Electric anymore. Some of them stayed with General Electric their careers, and retired, or some of them have passed away. But we were a class, I guess, in '53 that was get out of college in 2 years or 2.5 years. And we had things to do and places to go. College was really kind of an interruption. We spent time in the Army or in the service, so we knew we had time to make up for lost time. So we were pretty serious students, but we had a lot of fun too. We had round robins and a lot of those things, and did things down in a circle that I guess I wouldn't be too proud of today. I pull the town up once in a while. But I got a good education from Tri-State. For a few years, I wondered when I was at GE, because they kept trying to tell me I didn't know too much. They had to give me their own training program. But after I left GE, I found out that the blend is a good blend, and helped me to become I guess you'd say, a business success. And, I came from Illinois. I came to Tri-State. I got down to Fort Wayne, and I couldn't get out of town. And I've been there ever since, and I think I probably ended up with my wife. Some of the 53 guys might remember at that time, Carlene worked in a library. She probably knew more students than I did at the time. So again, thank you for the privilege of being up here and talking to you and telling you a little bit about what happened in 1952.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alexander. We'll move quickly now to the class of 63, Mr. Bob Kagaris. Bob, are you here, please? There he is.
Let's see the class of 53 stand up. 53 stand up.
Isn't that amazing? That is wonderful. The class of 53 would like to be recognized. I was going to return to do that. That was great. Thank you very much. I appreciate you reminding me of that because certainly many of you have driven a lot of miles to return, and we want to make sure that you do receive the recognition this morning. Okay, now, our next speaker, I had the opportunity to speak with him last night. He came in from the north, I think is the correct way to say that, from Michigan. And if you will, we'd like to hear some comments about that great class, okay? 32 years ago was when I first arrived on campus, and was going to be the world's greatest electronics engineer until the second semester of calculus and analytic geometry, at which time I promptly changed my major and ended up in the drafting and design group. I think Mr. Willman said it outstandingly, and that is Tri-State College provides a foundation. And while on campus, I had an opportunity to interview for a job. And again, last night when we were talking, here at Tri-State, I got my first job in Bloomington, Indiana, with a whopping salary of $535 a month. And I was flying high. And from there, I had a chance to go on to Indiana University and finish up my bachelor's degree and into graduate school at Purdue. But what has really been for me, and I hope for the class of 63, the foundation that we received here is undoubtedly what got it all started and has continued to allow me and my fellow classmen to grow in our professions. And when I received the information from the Alumni Association with all the classmates, I looked at the roster and out of the 237 that graduated that year, everyone is still out there, either in a profession and occupation as an engineer, or are now presidents and vice presidents and business owners and senior managers and senior executives in companies like DuPont, Boeing, General Motors, and Ford, and Chrysler, and GM. And I like to say the Bud Company too. And the only thing we can say for all of those of you who were part of our growing up, thank you, Tri-State. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. And look at this class came up also. We didn't have any problems. You have a class of 63? Yeah. We're here. Very good.
Thanks, Sharon. Sharon called me and told me, told me I was going to do this morning. And she reminded me when I came in this morning that I had to say something. But Glenn helped me out. He told me again, like Dr. Reynolds, keep it short. Glenn, back in '68, I had the same opportunity as Lee. Glenn's still holding my diploma. That's why I'm still in Angola. We left early in the morning in '68 to play golf in Bemidji. I wish I'd known John. Were you up there then? No, huh? We left to play golf at the national tournament, and we left prior to graduation. And I think that's why I'm still in Angola. Glenn is still holding my diploma. He's good at that, Lee. So, I've been in town here since I haven't left, again, like I mentioned, but many changes here at Tri-State. I've had the opportunity in my business to travel all over the country and met all over graduates, and again, the foundation that is given here is tremendous. If you had the opportunity to meet some of the board that's been here since, some of them have been here since I was, had the opportunity to stand up here like Bob, and never thought I'd be back up here again, Bob, and wonder why you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning for breakfast on an alumni weekend is, still can't figure it out. But the foundation Tri-State lays, and the new, I've had the opportunity to know John, Dr. Reynolds, and the rest of the new members of his administration. Had the opportunity to sit with Andy now for 2 nights, and Dr. Andy Wilson of the chemical engineering. Dr. Gettig has done a tremendous job, and the rest of the trustees that we have. So the opportunity that Tri-State gave myself and the rest of our class has been tremendous, and I want to thank you all. Yeah. Oh, I did work here. That's why I went out and found a job, too, though. But I did work. I forgot that, Glenn. I did work in the administration and the admissions department and went out recruiting, and we need students, I guess, and if the alumni would find the students, it'd be a great help for us and bring them here because it's a great place. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you need your pen, if you need your Tri-State pen, wonderful. Anyone in John's class in the audience this morning? There's 1, 2, 3, wonderful. Congratulations. I'd like to call on Mark Garrison at this time, the class of '73. Mr. Garrison.
Well, it's certainly an opportunity to be able to represent the class of '73 this morning. As I look across the room, I'm really excited to see so many reunion classes represented and the numbers represented. Unfortunately, one of the things that's a little disappointing is that it seems like the older classes are a little bit better represented this morning than some of the more recent classes. But I guess that can change in time, too. Many of the things that we have heard this morning have touched upon some things that I can remember. As I was sitting here this morning, I looked out the window, and it was kind of a gray day. It reminded me of the morning that I got in the car to come to Tri-State. I'm a native of Steubenville, Ohio. It's about 300 miles from here. As my parents and I left early that morning to come to Tri-State some 25 years ago. It was a very cloudy day as we drove up the Ohio River Valley, excuse me. And it was so foggy that we had to use a spotlight to keep track of the road. So it was a little uncertain where we were going. When I arrived on campus, it was the first time I'd been here. I'd never come to the campus before, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that come to this campus and have not been here before. And the reason they do that is because of the alumni, because of the reputation. We've recognized some people this morning for their distinguished service. But you know, there are people out there everywhere from Tri-State University that represent this university. My father was involved in a major plant construction program back in the late 60s, and he met a graduate at Tri-State. His name was John Nestler. a name I remember very well. And Mr. Nestler is the one talking to me about Tri-State. And I think that, even though we've recognized people this morning, there are a lot of people out there that are affecting the world and contributing to the world, as many people have said. It's really been a pleasure for me to be a graduate of Tri-State. I had the opportunity to participate in the co-op program. And as I thought of the programs, or this year's theme, Windows to the Future, I think of the co-op program as being one of the best programs that creates windows to the future for a student to prepare them for their education. The average age of a Tri-State student probably has changed a little bit over the years. I know that after the years of major worldwide conflict, we had a lot of veterans here. A significant thing that happened in 1973 affecting the military environment in this country was the elimination of the draft. So I think the class of 1973 was glad to see that happen at the time because there was a lot of concern in that class about having to participate in the military conflict going on in the Middle East. So it's been a pleasure to have this opportunity to represent you all. I think that Tri-State basically is very well known. I know that in my business experiences, and when I mention where I've gone to school, I say, well, I went to a little school in Indiana you may not know of. But more often than not, that little school in Indiana is well known. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Mark. Do you have any classmates out there we can recognize quickly? There they are. 73. Okay. Moving right into the 10-year anniversary, we have Ken Reddick. Ken, are you here this morning? There's Ken. He's on his way. He's saving time. We appreciate that class of 1983, 10 years ago. He's here to tell us how it looked from his perspective at that time.
Thank you. Good morning, Tri-State alums, special guests. Sharon Martin first asked me to be the representative for the class of 1983. She didn't tell me about this part of the job. Because basically I'd rather have my toenails pulled one by one than get proud like this. If you please laugh if I say anything even remotely funny. First thought about talking about how far we've traveled to get all the way back to the same point, and everything that everybody's done and continue their success and what they've done in 10 years. And the scenery is exactly the same. You know, the philosophical approach, but that didn't seem right. And I thought I might try the motivational approach and quote cliches like success is a journey, not a destination. People are either green and growing or ripe and rotting. That didn't seem right either. So I asked myself, why are we here? And after thinking about it, I've come up with Ken's top 10 reasons for coming to the Tri-State Homecoming. Number 10. To be in Angola and not feel like you should be doing homework. Number 9, show your spouse the nightlife in the Angola area. Not yet. And allow him or her to understand why you study so much. Number 8, see some of your Tri-State friends and force them to look at pictures of your children. Number 7, make sure you still have more hair than your professor. Number 6, to see the staff at Tri-State and to be able to address them by their first name. Number 5, where else can you play golf with the threat of getting snowed on right now? Number 4, to do the current Tri-State students a favor by telling them about the outside world. Number 3, you think you might be able to find an article of clothing that you lost at pizza night. Number two, it's a great chance to pawn off the kids on the grandparents and get away. And the number one reason for coming back to Tri-State Homecoming, to see if that permanent social probation thing is still in effect.
Well, 1 minute.
Whatever your reasons for coming may have been, it's nice for Tri-State to know it means enough to us to be here today. I'd also like to take a moment to remember one of our classmates who unfortunately passed away on his way home from school in 1982 for the Christmas vacation. Thomas White was killed on December 24th as he was trying to get home for Christmas. Tom, you're still missed by your friends at Tri-State, and I'm sure your family and other friends. It's good to be back. I'm looking forward to the rest of the weekend, seeing old friends and making new acquaintances. Thanks, Tri-State, for bringing us together.
Thank you very much, Ken. You see all the classmates out there that helped him write that speech and participate in those events. Anyone out there? There's one that helped. Okay, remember that. Thank you. Finally, the current class year, 1983, we have two representatives, Jolie Alford and Chris Sears. Are those folks here this morning? Okay, there's one. Okay, great. Even though the class of 93 is just graduating, it is starting that milestone, heading up to some of the earlier classes that we have heard starting back in 1933. So it's certainly a pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning. As I look around the room, I don't see too many faces from the class of 93. So I've come to the conclusion that since everybody's so low on the totem pole out there on the workforce, that they have to work every weekend, and they don't get any vacation. So that's why they're not here if you don't see anybody from the class of 93. But I just want to say that hopefully in the future, the class of 93 will grow, and it will become alumni like yourself and support Tri-State. And all I can say is it's nice to be an alumni now after 4 months, and I'm one of you, and we can keep coming back and supporting Tri-State because Tri-State is a great college. And I hope you all have a great weekend.
Anyone here from the class of 93? Okay. They're working, yes. Thank you very much. We are behind schedule, but I want to take just 2 or 3 minutes. Let's recognize those individuals that maybe have traveled the greatest distance. Anyone out here that has traveled outside of the United States this morning? There's 1 and 2 in the rear. Stand up, please. Where are you from?
Just from Canada.
And your name, please. Pardon?
Don Turnbull, my wife Denise. We came up from London, Ontario.
Welcome. Anyone else traveled a distance, great distance? How about those individuals that hasn't been back to Tri-State for at least 60 years? How about that class of 33? Is there any in that class that's never been back before? Anyone in that category? Okay. We recognized the class of 33, but how about graduates prior to 33? Let's have those individuals stand up. I know there's someone here this morning, pretty close to me. Okay, Dr. Radcliffe, okay, and 32, 31, 1930. Okay, let's start with the young lady over here. Where are you from? And give us your name, please. Angola, Indiana. $5 a week, the best job in the courthouse. That's fantastic. And your name, please? Loretta Sanders. That's wonderful. Well, we're certainly happy to have you here this morning. That's great. And what year, sir? 1930. Dr. Radcliffe, you like to say a couple words, please?
First job, $100 a month.
First job, $100 a month. You want to share your age with this special group here this morning?
Halloween time, to go around trick-or-treating. My parents got tricked that time. Soon be 88 years.
Isn't that wonderful? I just think that's wonderful. Had dinner with him last night. We're just so happy to have him here.
anyone else in the group this morning that deserves special recognition? Anything we've overlooked? Okay, thank you very kindly. I appreciate all these spokespersons for the anniversary classes. It's a real pleasure to have you share some of your experiences during the last few years. Thanks again.
At this time, we're going to bring Sharon Martin back up again. We have some recognition of alumni and friends that we would like to give awards to right now. So, Sharon?
When I first arrived here in April of 1991, I had the privilege of working with a distinct group of individuals, the Alumni Board of Governors. And at that time, that group consisted of 9 individuals, and we met 4 times a year. And so the continuity in terms of program and things that we were trying to accomplish during that period of time was a little difficult. And through all of this, the 3 of the 4 individuals that I'm going to be recognizing this morning for leadership roles were very instrumental in helping to develop continuity and to expand the Board of Governors to now what includes 32 people on that Board of Governors, 4 of whom are student representatives. And it couldn't be without the help of 3 of the 4 individuals to make this group what it is today, and I'm eternally grateful for their support. First of all, I'd like to recognize Sharon Adriani. Now, Sharon was unable to be with us today. Sharon received 2 degrees from Tri-State University and is currently serving as an adjunct professor in the School of Business. She also had positions within the Alumni Board of Governors as secretary, and we're really most appreciative for her help. She, as I say, she's not able to be here with us. The second individual that I would like to recognize at this time is Paul Newman. Paul is a member of our alumni trustees, and Paul is retiring from the Alumni Board of Governors this year, but Paul, without his help and guidance and support, we wouldn't be here. Paul, would you come forward, please?
If I'd known this was going to happen, I would have dressed up.
Next, I'd like to call Lisa Rusakov-Gilman, class of 1981. Lisa has served in several capacities. She was a former president of the Alumni Board of Governors, chair of the admissions committee of the Board of Governors, which is a new committee recently formed, and a long-standing member of the Board of Governors. Lisa, would you come forward, please? And certainly last but not least is Jill Simon, who is unable to be here today because she is working. Jill is not retiring from the Board of Governors, but she is retiring from the position of Secretary of the Board of Governors. And I wanted to let you know of that situation as well, so we congratulate her as well. Thank you. Now we're going to move on. I'd like to share with you a little bit of information about a new program that the Board of Governors, in conjunction with the Office of Student Affairs and the Career Center, is beginning to implement this year, and it's entitled the SMART program. And the acronym stands for Students and Mentors Are Reaching Together. And I'd like to share with you a little bit of information about this. The SMART program is designed to enhance and complement students' collegiate experiences by establishing mentoring relationships with people such as outstanding Tri-State alumni such as yourselves, individuals with experience and expertise in the business industry. Successful mentors have experiences, responsibilities, and contacts to draw upon in order to provide a meaningful experience for students while not requiring excessive preparation. They must have time available to meet with students regularly and must have an interest in working with college students. The students, in turn, who are participating in this program must continually strive to meet academic goals and maintain a high degree of professionalism. The students who are going to be signing signing up for this program will be of junior or senior status and have a grade point average of 2.5 or above. The program begins by mentors and students being paired together. An extensive application is required of all interested individuals and helps in this process. Matches are made on an individual basis with an emphasis on matching expectations of the program, field of study, geographic location, and similarities in personal interests. Once the matches have been made, the program is officially started. The mentors and the students meet at least once a month from October through April. The way the relationship develops is up to the mentor and the student. It could be strictly business, or it could be more informal, or a blend of the two. In any case, the idea is to foster a relationship allowing both individuals to grow personally and professionally. During the meetings between the mentors and the students, they can share the secrets of their success, why they made the decisions they did, how they got to where they are today, and what bumps they ran into along the way. More skills-oriented discussions could also take place, such as how to prioritize and plan, how to write a resume, where to look for employment, and what trade publications are important to review. Another possible topic for discussion is the delicate balance between work and play. Ideas on how to cope with two-career marriages, daycare, and healthcare issues can provide students with important information about how to effectively handle these potential problems. But probably the most effective way to help the students learn is by example, by allowing students into the office and observing meetings, reports, and even business lunches, providing students with the opportunity to see what their chosen profession is really like. It gives them the opportunity to learn industry-specific lessons that might not be taught in the traditional classroom. At the same time, students can share with the mentor. They can share what concepts are being taught in the classroom, their own personal successes and frustrations, and relate similar experiences. They could also be resources for the mentor, providing the mentor with alternative viewpoints on problems and offer suggestions for how to solve them. As I'm sure you can see, the rewards of this program are vast and extend to all individuals involved with the program. Mentors have the opportunity to share their successes with others while providing students with a unique and meaningful supplement to their college education. Students, on the other hand, have the opportunity to examine the real world, learn from those who have chosen the same career path, receive career counseling, and apply what they have learned to their TSU coursework. In a day when college graduates are not guaranteed employment right out of college, Tri-State is trying to help give our students a foot in the door. The SMART program will give TSU students an edge over students from other colleges by extending the boundaries of the classroom to include the workplace. But this program cannot be a success without the help of people such as yourself. Tri-State is in need of qualified individuals who are willing to donate their time to help give students, or to help students reach the goals that they have set before them. Individuals who feel they want to give to the university and perhaps give back to the community. Individuals who can lead by example and show students the importance of professionalism, high standards of excellence, and strong work ethics. In short, the university needs alumni such as yourselves to help sign up for this program. I believe that this program is a unique approach to learning, and I hope that you will help make it a success. If you or anyone you know are interested in learning more about this program, there are brochures that are out in the front, and there are sign-up sheets available if you are interested in participating. I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about this program with you, and I would like to have Jerry Sturdivant stand. Jerry is a member of the Alumni Board of Governors, and he is the chairman of the SMART program, and we are very appreciative for his work, also the work of Carol Lee and Deb Stahl from Student Services, and for Jane Mitchell in the Career Center for all of the help that all of these areas have worked together conjointly to get this program going. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for all the rest of you.
At this point in our program, we'd like to have Jane Mitchell come up and Jane is going to give us an overview of our Career Center. Jane?
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here this morning to tell you that things are popping in the Career Center. I think you'll be delighted to hear that I'm going to take my 5-minute presentation and turn it into a minute and a half. In assessing our needs in the Career Center, I think our most valuable resource is definitely the alumni. And I invite all of you, any assistance that you can give us in the Career Center, we would be most happy to hear from you. Perhaps you have employment needs. Perhaps you would be interested in sponsoring co-op or an internship. Perhaps you would like to come on campus one day and conduct mock interviews and give our students a chance to practice before they go for that full-time major-related employment interview. I think everyone in the room could sit down and write on a piece of paper some advice or suggestions that they would have to our students as they are pursuing their career, their educational career, and of course when they are ready to begin their full-time employment. We would welcome that input from you, and we will be sure that it is passed along to our students. I began this job 4 months ago, and in our reassessment of the Career Center, I tried to come up with a theme that I felt would be pertinent to our undergraduates, to our seniors, and to our recent graduates and alumni as they are working. And our message to you and to our students is pursue your future with ambition, perseverance, and integrity.
Thank you very much, Jane. We're at the conclusion of the breakfast this morning, and one of the things that I'd like to say, in my association with Tri-State University, I've had an opportunity not only to meet at events like this in Angola, but also to, when I was at admissions, to go around to alumni affairs in Ohio, and then living in Indianapolis. We've had several of them down there. And the message still continues to come across, and it's so enjoyable to get together with a group of alumni like this, to hear what the old days were like, to hear what the new days are like, to hear what the class of '83 did. And I had to laugh at social probation because as director of housing, I think I helped make that rule in 1980 that haunted the students of 1983, but as in time passes, so does the rule, I think. But it certainly is enjoyable, and it has led a foundation through my life, and listening to everybody else has obviously done the same for you. Thank you all for coming. Before we walk away, we do have a couple of announcements, but before I do that, we in the Alumni Board of Governors have a point person that we depend a lot on. We really couldn't accomplish anything in our small group if it wasn't for our Director of Alumni. At this point, I would like Sharon Martin to please stand up for me, Sharon. This person deserves a lot of credit and a lot of applause, and we're going to give her that. But, I mean, she works above and beyond the call of duty, no matter what time of day it is. We have conference calls. Sometimes it starts at 9 o'clock at night. Sometimes they start at 7 o'clock in the morning. And she's the kind of person that gives of herself. So based on that, let's give Sharon a big hand of applause, not only for what she's done for the Alumni Board of Governors, but for this whole weekend. So, some announcements before we leave. Sharon tells me again, remind the members of each class that your pictures will be taken immediately following the breakfast in the back of the room. That would be in the back of that room back there where the buffet was set up. Okay. Okay, class representatives will be shuttled in vans to the parade, to the beginning of the parade. So there'll be a van out here along the dormitory, and the van will then take you to the beginning of the parade. Anniversary class reunion. All anniversary class reunions will be held at the home of the president. Rather than the individual get-togethers that we were going to have, that's been changed, and it will be at the home of the president, and you want an address, right? 201 West Park Street. Dr. Reynolds, do you want to give directions in case anybody... Okay, right down the end of the street,
And that starts at 4:15, okay? That's it. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.